and welcome to Navkar Digital Institute. Navkar Digital Institute is India's first virtual learning platform for professional courses, specifically courses like CA, CS, and many more foreign courses. Considering the requirement of students, we at Navkar are providing multiple options as per their convenience. Like there are students who want some specific faculties for a subject, so we are giving them options for various faculties for one subject. Further, there are students, as you know, we live in the country of diversity. So there are students who wants to have a specific language preference. So there are options available like exclusively English, Hindi English mix. So at Navkar, we are providing so many options. Apart from this, there are MCQs, there are test supports, there is mentorship support, and much more things. And today at this virtual platform, we are having with us one of the director of Navkar Institute, C.A. Dhaval Gandhi, sir, having years of experience in the field of indirect taxation. Welcome to the platform, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for wonderful introduction. Thank you, and it would be my pleasure to guide you students on this subject. Yes, please, ma'am.
So, students, it's a privilege to have sir with us. He will be sharing some insights from the pool of his knowledge of IDT. First of all, sir, I would like to discuss few question and answers with you. So my first question to you is, tell me something about the subject and how important it is for the students.
See, ma'am, precisely indirect tax is a vast subject, and if you actually consider history, then precisely indirect tax were the first taxes that has ever been introduced in the world as compared to other tax structures. So indirect tax is having a very wide scope, and in terms of revenue from government's perspective also, it carries a lot of weightage. But I think we are here not to discuss from the government's revenue perspective, we are here to discuss from the student's perspective. So if I talk about the subject, it carries a lot of weightage at intermediate as well as final level. And in intermediate, it carries a weightage of around 40 marks in the subject of taxation, which is paper number 4, group 1. And in the final, it carries a 100-mark weightage, and it's part of group 2, and it is last paper. And to be very precise, if I say, this is important from students' perspective because it is easy to get good marks in the subject, but more important, in today's era, indirect tax is one of the fastest growing line in practice as well as in industry field. So we have seen in today's era, like precisely 50% or more people are looking for a job in this industry only. And it has that scope that it can absorb this many people. So when students are studying this subject, I would genuinely tell them that they should not only focus from exams perspective, but they should also try and focus in from practical perspective. Probably reason behind that is you end up joining only this industry. So it carries a lot of weightage from students' perspective, to be very precise.
So we can say that it is important before clearing the chartered accountancy as well as after clearing it, they are having options to go into that field.
Yes, 100%. And that too after GST. In pre-GST era, like we were having different requirements where there was excise, there was service tax, there was VAT. And we have seen many, lawyers also practicing in this field. And it was not limited to only chartered accountants. But I think post GST part, if I say, precisely it is more in the hands of chartered accountants. And I've seen many, in last 3 years, since it's 2017 when GST got introduced. I've seen many recent pass outs of 2017, 18 and 19 and are doing excellent in the industry in this field. So it's a new law. So, opportunity is common for everyone. Yes. And students are taking advantage of that.
That's great.
CAs are taking advantage, to be very precise.
To be very precise. So they are having this benefit of going exclusively in that field. So yes. Ultimately, it is going to help to build their career. Sir, how many days are required to prepare this entire subject of 100 marks?
Ma'am, I would like to just modify the question. I'm sorry, but it's not number of days. It's how good you are doing. Because if I sit with a book for 10 hours a day and my effective output is only 4 to 5 hours, then probably I need a month. So it's not about days, I would say, but it is about how effective study you are doing. But if I talk about the subject as a whole, indirect tax, it mainly covers two components. One is GST part, and another is custom portion. If you are doing it for the first time, and precisely if you are spending effectively 7 to 8 hours a day, I
Okay.
am of the opinion that the subject can be done in a week period. And if you are trying to cover up all the recent RTPs, MTPs, past papers, which I believe you should, then you count 2, 3 days more. But on a higher side, I'm saying that if you count around 7 hours a day and around 10 days, I think we'll be able to cover up the subject. And that too in detailed manner. Because
Okay.
this is what I'm putting on a higher note. But I have seen students completing subject in 5, 6 days also, because subject is comfortable, and if they have done a little bit work in their articleship days in the subject, I think in CA final it can be done even in a lesser period. So it purely depends on your hold. But on a genuine note, let us say I'm completely from some other background and I have to start afresh. I don't have a background of the subject, and I am of the opinion in 10 days it can be done. Yes.
So, sir, as we are discussing the preparation part, I would like to know one more thing from you. How many times one must revise the subject before appearing for the exams?
Ma'am, that depends. I mean, it's an open-ended answer. That purely depends on the comfort of a student. Um, if you ask me, as an completely, on a, not to be biased on my subject, but as a subject, as an independent person, I think
Yes.
not only for my subject, I'm saying from all the subject perspective, I think one time preparation is required. Then after that, one time at least revision is required, and then a day before exam. If you can do
Okay.
that, I think things can work in a proper manner. And
So
and
we can
apart from
say that, yeah.
yeah, ma'am, 1 minute. So apart from as an IDT faculty, I am also serving as a director of Navkar Digital Institute, and specifically for CA final. And I take personal interest in molding, in guiding students on this part. And we conduct a specific, 6 months before, 1 year before, we conduct specific guidance seminar, and we guide our own students that how they should plan in last 6 months. So I say this as part of this, as this meet, that one should keep in mind that the day before you get leave from your articleship. Let's say you are getting leave in last 4 months. So a day before that, you should be at least done with all the subjects which are comfortable to you, because your study should happen simultaneously. So if you
Yes.
get leave,
Yes.
let's say your exam is in November and you are going to get leave maybe from 1st July, then by 30th June, I am of the opinion that you should be at least with the practical portion or theory portion, depending on your comfort zone. So that what will happen is, once you complete 30th June, and from 1st July, your actual classroom preparation will start. So at that point of time, precisely, you will be able to do other subjects where you are not comfortable, and you will be able to at least revise those subjects which you have already prepared prior to 30th June. So I think things will become easy for you at that point of time. So if I speak about specifically IDT, yes, one time when you are learning the course, then one time revision before you appear, and a day before exam. That is one more revision.
That's very apt because the syllabus is vast and we need to remember the things. That is the reason we at least study it for 3 times before appearing for the exams.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So as we see, sir, there are many circulars found in the IDT. There are amendments that keeps on coming and coming. How important they are from exam point of view?
Ma'am, to be precise, if you ask me, I would say it carries at least 30% weight. At least I am using the word as. Because even if you take last attempt paper, let's say November 19 paper or May 19 paper, those students who have studied the subject, they must be aware, in November 19 paper, the first question was a recent circular issued at that point of time. To be precise, a circular was issued in 2019 with regard to cost petroleum concept, which those who have done the subject must be aware of that. And the first question 1A, which was having good weightage, it was around 8 marks or 10 marks. That was purely based on this question of cost petroleum. Similar way, along with that, the B part, that is question 1B part, it was based on job work, for which again a circular or notification was issued in 2019 only. So if you see your first question, which is actually your compulsory question, ignoring MCQ part, I'm not talking about MCQ part, I'm talking about the descriptive part. So your first question itself was purely based on the circulars and amendments. Now, what happens is these circulars are very precise and are industry oriented. Now, if you have not read this circular, then even if you know the entire subject, you know every provision, but you don't have an insight of that specific industry in relation to which the circular has come. So practically it becomes impossible for a student. If I am also appearing, then precisely if I am not read that circular, it becomes difficult for me also to answer it. So as a student, if you ask me, yes, I need to, I must. I am not saying you should. I am saying you must go through all the recent circulars, all the amendments, and to be precise, when you are preparing subject at that point of time, you should do it. But a day before exam, this has to be done in a specific manner. In fact, what I do is I always guide my students that if you are going for an exam of IDT, which is your last paper, your 8th paper, and your timing is 2 to 5. So I am assuming that by 1 o'clock you will obviously complete your reading and then traveling and whatever is there, and you will relax for some time. Now, if you are going for 1 o'clock, if you are stopping your studies at 1 o'clock, then 3 hours before that or 4 hours before that should actually go to these circulars and amendments only. Those notifications, those circulars, those amendments. Because many a times what happens is, a day before exam or 1.5 day, whatever we get, in that we try and study all the provisions, all the theory part, everything, but we ignore that circulars and amendments are also there. So we study entire subject, but we don't study what is actually being asked in exam. So that error should not be done. If you are a student of IDT and you are planning to appear, whether you are appearing in this attempt, that is your July, August, assuming no extension will be granted or it won't be cancelled. So your July or August attempt, or your November, December, whenever attempt will be taken, or in future attempts, I'm being very clear, as a student, you have to plan your last 1.5 day, but more important, you should plan your last 3 hours or 4 hours only for this component because it carries lot of weightage. And it will become easy for you to write paper also, because generally ICI does what? They ask this kind of questions, important questions, circulars, amendments under compulsory question category only. So you can't even avoid that in option.
So students,
yes, very important.
Please take a note here that you must read circulars and amendments before you are going for examination. As the sir has suggested, sir had said that minimum 30%, which may be more than 30%. So, and that are also asked in the compulsory questions, which you can't avoid at any cost. So must go through them all before you appear for the exams. So as we are discussing the exams, here, I would like to know what is the paper pattern of this particular subject.
Ma'am, precisely IDT is a subject where we have an MCQ option to be very clear. So around 30 marks of MCQs are going to be there. And 70 marks will be obviously a descriptive paper, which I would like to explain. But before I do that, I would say 30 marks when you talk about MCQs. The game was different a year back and the game is different as of now. Because I think May 19 was the first attempt when MCQ got introduced. So in May 19, to be very precise, MCQs were direct MCQs, like they have asked an MCQ which is related to a particular section or particular provision, something like that. But nowadays when we see MCQ, it's altogether a different game. Nowadays MCQs are purely case study based MCQs, and it comes to your practical understanding and conceptual clarity. They will create case study involving multiple provisions. For example, I was referring one of the case study which was given in RTP of May 20, where ICI actually talked about an e-commerce player. So they have covered one provision, a few provisions related to e-commerce, which also covered some provision related to TDS component, which also covers one provision related to place of supply, which also covers one provision related to value of supply. So technically speaking, they are asking a merge question where multiple provisions are involved and you need a conceptual clarity of each of them. So they will create a big case study, maybe a half a page or even a more than that size of case study. And then 5 questions will come out of that. Maybe first question will relate to time of supply. Second question will relate to place of supply. Third question will relate to value of supply. Fourth maybe relates to TDS or TCS component or something like that. So nowadays the MCQs that are going to come in your exam, I'm pretty sure it's going to be case study. Direct question is probably rare to find.
Okay.
And to be precise in this also, what I'm expecting. See, I'm not the person who's going to decide what is going to be asked in paper. Yeah, I would say I'm not going to frame the paper. But if you ask me, this is what I am expecting, that first 3, out of 30 marks of MCQs, around 15 marks of MCQs will be this big case study based MCQs, where first case will have 5 questions, second case will have another 5 questions, and third case will have another 5 questions. So 15 marks worth case studies will be like this.
Okay.
Then further 10 more marks of case studies, which I am expecting to be a small case study based MCQ. Small case study would say, let's say they will give you Mr. X has done so and so, and what will be the time of supply in this case. So it's a one single case where it will be one provision involved. So next 10 MCQs I'm expecting for this, where probably either one MCQ will be of 1 mark or one MCQ will be of 2 marks, and 10 marks will be like this. So 15 marks big case studies, 10 marks small case studies, and 5 marks would be direct provision based questions, which was probably being asked 1 year back. So now I am of the opinion that the trend will be altogether a different game as compared to what has been actually asked in past. I hope students are getting clarity with regard to MCQ parts. Now,
Yes.
if you are of the opinion that from where we can study this, I'm not sure whether you are using NDI app or not, but on NDI app, we have as of now framed around 300 plus case study based MCQs. And in and all, if you actually see, we have around 3000 plus MCQs available on our app. Just have to log in as a user, 3000 plus, and in that we have done a segregation. Segregation in the sense that when you will open the folder of MCQs, so on first part we will have case study based MCQs, and on other part we have other MCQs. So depending on your subject comfort, you can select whether you want to go for case study based MCQs or not. But at least 300 case study based MCQs are already there, which have been segregated chapter wise. As per your convenience, you can open them and you can refer it. So I think this is guidance with regard to MCQs.
Yes.
Now, with regard to 70 marks of other portion. So, the trend is changing a lot, and post GST it has actually changed a lot. Let me tell you this way. In pre-GST era, what was happening is excise was there, service tax was there, VAT was there. And we have seen a lot of judgments of excise, service tax and VAT in prior period. So what was being actually asked in exam was this kind of judgment. They will create a, in past maybe some case has happened and that case has been framed into a question where a verdict is either given by Supreme Court. So, case study based MCQs, of actual excise, actual service tax, actual VAT were there, and Supreme Court or High Court would have given a verdict of that, and those case studies were being asked in exam, or rather were at that point of time were being asked in exam. Now the trend is changing because GST is a new thing. So you don't find those case studies where Supreme Court or High Court would have given verdict because yet the matters have not been escalated to that level.
Yes.
So now you can't expect those case studies. Earlier, actually, 30 marks were straight away allotted to those case studies only. But in today's period, we don't have those case studies. So actually, sums are given a lot of importance. And let me tell you, 30 marks are straight away going to MCQ. I am expecting around another 32, 35 marks, which will be purely come from sums part. And when I say sums part, so sums would be, there can be a sum which is of independent provision of maybe any independent provision like value of supply or case of supply or input tax credit or something like that. But there can be a combined sum also. And that is something which is unique and is being done in a best manner by ITI. What, like I have explained in case study where they merge multiple provisions and then they ask a common case. Similar way, they create a multiple provisions and they frame a common sum also. And this kind of sums are coming in exam, and each sum carries around 10 marks weightage. So you may expect around 2 to 3 sums like that, around 2 at least I am saying. So probably around 15 to 20 marks will go to this kind of big sums, and then individual provision based sums are always part of exam. So I am expecting around 35 marks of sums. So 30 marks are going to MCQs, around 35 marks are going to big sums like this. Similar way, I am expecting around custom-based case studies or practical questions around maybe 10 marks of this. So if you ask me out of 100 marks, I've given you around 70 to 75 marks that what is going to come in your exam. I think this is fair enough to understand the exam pattern part.
Yes. So students, as we can understand, sir has shared how the paper comes in the examination. There are 30 marks of MCQs in which you will find few case studies as well as single provision based MCQs. Further, there are sums which varies from which carries the weightage of 30 to 35 marks that are on the practical based sum. Whatever you have read in the provision, there are practicals related to them in the paper. And sir had mentioned one more thing, that we can find something about customs of around 10 marks. So as you have shared, sir, 10 marks of sums are from customs. So can you share some insight about the customs part?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. Speaking about customs, out of 100 marks, it carries around 25 marks of weightage. But I'm expecting that out of the 25 marks, precisely 5 marks will go in MCQs only.
Okay.
The remaining 20 marks will be what you will find as part of descriptive. Now, out of that descriptive also, I'm of the opinion that FTP is also a major component where 5 marks or something like that will go to FTP. And as I have already said, around 10 marks are going to be sums. So if you actually apply logic, so 25 marks is of customs, where 5 marks will go in MCQ, around 10 marks will go for sums, and another 5 marks will go to foreign trade policy, and which is a very small portion and carries at least 5 to 7 marks in every exam. So logically speaking, out of 25, we are done with 20 marks.
Yes.
Now, for that also, someone would say that 10 marks of sum. So any specific chapter which you are telling me, when you are preparing for the first time, I am not saying that go for a specific chapter. There are specific chapters generally from which sum is coming. But still, when you are doing custom for the first time, I am of the opinion you should do it entirely. But when you talk for a day before exam, when you are going to prepare it, so I think on that day or at that point of time when you are preparing custom, I believe you should focus on those chapters from where directly you can expect something in exam, like sums. So sums you can directly expect from valuation part and custom duty part. Valuation and custom duty, these are the two important chapters from where you will always find a sum. One sum directly from this. Another sum may come from this chapter or may also come from baggage portion or maybe even duty drawback portion. One sum at least going to be there from custom valuation or custom valuation and duty portion. And in fact, this is where I find an error from a lot of students. What they do is, a day before exam, they will refer entire customs, all the provisions. And then when I'll ask them that have you practiced any sum? So they would say no. Then that is where the error happens, because a day before exam you do everything, but you don't do what is required. there is a huge difference. Let me say this again. There is a huge difference between subject preparation and preparation for exam.
Yes.
Many a times, students are doing subject preparation. And that's okay. When you do it in normal way, you have to do subject preparation. But when you talk about a day before exam, it is not actually subject preparation. It is actually preparation from exams perspective. So you should actually be aware of, exam pattern. You should actually be aware of trends, what kind of things are coming in exam. Someone would say, sir, how do we come to know about this trend? So that is where you take help of RTPs, you take help of MTPs, you take help of past papers. I mean, in fact, one should do all of them from May 80. At least we suggest last 5 attempts, MTP, RTP and past papers should be done by everyone. And if someone is of the opinion, sir, I am not having time to solve it on my own, can you provide it in a solved manner? Yes, at Navkar we have started doing this. We are in process of uploading RTPs, MTPs and past papers of all the subjects which are amended and of last 5 attempts, and it will be made available to all our NDI students, and that they are in process. I mean, one by one we have already started, to be precise, uploading. Some RTPs, MTPs of law has been uploaded, IDT has been uploaded. So we are in process, and probably in next 15 to 20 days we will make it available. So that will help you to understand the exam pattern. And once you understand the exam pattern, your preparation a day before exam should actually be done in that manner only. If I say 30 marks of amendments are coming, or circulars are coming, then as I have already said, 3 hours before your exam, you should actually focus on that only. Maybe another 3 hours before that. So maybe if 10 to 1 you are doing amendments and circulars, maybe a 3 hours before that, maybe 7 to 10 or a night before, you can actually focus on sums. Try and go through all the different types of sums that are coming in your exam, because you need to understand that it carries 35 marks of weightage. Now, as I was saying, many a times what students do is they study all the provisions the day before exam, but they don't study what is actually required, and that is where error happens. So when I talk about customs, I've already shared the weightage, the trend which is going on, that 5 marks is actually going for MCQ, 10 marks are going for sums at least, and 5 marks are going for FTP straight away. So your 20 marks are short on this particular category. Now you should start your preparation in that way only.
Yes.
Clear, ma'am, for that perspective.
So students, take a note, don't just prepare the subject, prepare for exams as well. It is really important that you must be prepared how the questions are asked in the exam, and you must prepare accordingly to that. So sir, my next question to you is how to plan those 3 hours of exams.
Great, ma'am. I am glad that you have asked this question. In fact, it is very important. Precisely, there is a saying, or I don't know. You all of you might have heard it, that if you get 1 hour to cut a tree, then it is very important to sharpen your axe, and then only you will go and hit at the right place. And probably out of 1 hour, even if 75% time is spent on sharpening the axe, in rest 25% you can cut the tree easily. This is in the same way. When you are going for your exams, it is important that how 75% time you have utilized for preparation, and your rest 25% will depend on this. And when I talk about now 25%, let us assume that we have justified the 75% time of for preparation side. Now we are coming to 25% time, that is your actual exam time. That also carries a lot of weightage. Many a time what happens is you have sharpened your axe in a very proper manner using 75% time. But in 25% time also you have to hit at the right point and right place. If you hit at the wrong place, then in that 25% time, even if your axe is much sharpened, still it will not generate results. And that is what now I want to communicate. That you might have sharpened your axe, but if you are not focusing on right 25%, then I am pretty sure that you are going to create a disaster for yourself. And let me explain this point. What happens is, 90% of the students, and keep this in mind not only for my subject, this is something which I am saying from all subjects perspective. 90% of the students that I've observed or that we have seen is they always start writing paper from question one only because
Yes.
I is given question one. But that's error. That's not the way you should do it. You should write paper your as per your your preparation and as per your comfort. If I speak about IDT as a subject, so I'm pretty sure that there are so many points. GST is there, custom is there. You may be good with some provisions of GST and may not be good with another provisions of GST, or you may be good with customs and you may not be good with GST, or vice versa. So there are a lot of combinations which are going to apply. Now the important point is, are you starting your paper with the provision in which you are comfortable, or are you starting with something where you are not comfortable? That is going to decide everything. If you play cricket, you understand the point of power play. So your first 30 minutes of your paper is actually your power play. Now, in your power play, if you waste your overs, you don't score in that your power play, then you will always be in pressure. Now, how do you score? You can score only when your best batsman is there on the crease. Then only there are chances of scoring. If you say no, my best batsman should stay for the last part, and I don't want to send him first, and you send other moderate player, then probably he may not be able to score in power play. So that is what same thing I am suggesting, that you should be prepared. It should be planned well in advance. If I am of the opinion that my indirect tax is very strong, but in indirect tax also, which part is strong? Is it input tax credit? Is it exemption? Is it place of supply? Is it value of supply? Is it customs? Is it supply chapter itself? What? And depending on that, I should actually write paper. And you always get first 15 minutes. First 15 minutes to read the paper. I don't suggest any of my students to read the paper in 15 minutes. What I suggest to them is, you should actually, rather than reading all the provisions, just go through that and find out that the provisions where you are more comfortable is where. If let's say I'm very good with exemption portion, so I should actually go through all the points and find out exemption is where. Is it there in question 1C? Then I should take that. Is it there in another provision which I'm comfortable is, let's say, value of supply? So where is it? Is it there in question 2B? I should take that. So in first 15 minutes, at least I should find out this question. I'll at least find out 3-4 questions like this where I'm more comfortable. And I should immediately start solving. So what will happen is, in 15 minutes, if I can, solve one or two of these questions, so psychologically I have gained it. Reason? Because before I start paper, which is actually 3 hours paper, precisely I've solved already 2 questions and I've got the answer. So I'm already securing 10 marks or 15 marks. So now 3 hours is not going to be there for 100 marks. Now 3 hours is going to be there for 85 or 90 marks. And that is psychological gain. And now what you will do, the moment you will get your answer key, the first thing that you should do is write those points. So in first 15 minutes, you are sure for 15 marks, or maybe you are sure for 20 marks. Now this is your power play, and you have played well in this power play. And if you do so, I think remaining things will get very easy. In 50 hours game, if we have a 50 overs game, if we want to chase 300, then prima facie it seems difficult. But in first 15 overs, which is your power play overs, if you actually score more than 120, then you are very sure that your game is yours. This is what you are supposed to do. In first 15 minutes where you get a time to read, you should not read entire paper. You should, in first 5 minutes, you find out the questions about which you are comfortable, and in next 10 minutes, solve them in your mind, because you don't have an answer key to write it. So you solve in your mind, and as and when in first 15 minutes get over, you get an answer key. So the first thing that you should do is write down those points. So your comfort level will be much better and game will be in your hand. And now you will not think of how will I pass. Now you will think of how will I secure exemption. And in IDT, securing exemption is easy, to be very precise. In fact, in indirect tax, I mean in group 2 entirely, if you see, one of the subjects where maximum people are securing exemption is actually indirect taxes. I'm not saying because I'm teaching it, but I know that because I'm also dealing with all CA final students as a director of Navkar. I've seen students' results. I've seen many students' results, and I've seen that they have secured exemption in the subject. If I talk about myself also, 10 years back, 12 years back, I was also a student of Navkar, and I studied over here. And then in last 10 years, precisely, I've gained November 2008 for the first time in CA final. I failed. And then in next attempt, I have passed. But the only difference was there in November 2009, out of 8 subjects, I was having an exemption in one subject, and that was indirect tax. And that's the subject which I'm teaching. So
That's
it is
great.
easy to get an exemption, and I've told you the way how do we get it. I mean, this is something which I followed as a student, and I'm sure that if you will follow as a student, it is going to help you a lot.
Thanks for sharing this with us, sir. Students, please know your strength and use it well. Your time is limited and you have to use it smartly. Okay. So, sir, you have just shared about the planning of exams as well as preparation for the subject. One more thing I would like to know from you that how important it is to write and practice the test papers before going for actual exams.
And precisely very important. And I just talked about myself 10 years back. I can say that one of the strongest reason I failed in November 2009 is overconfidence. No, let me tell you, if I talk about my journey prior to November 2009, I have not failed in my entire life. And when I cleared, at our point of time, it was not even CPT, it was P1, P2, which was an old course, kind of foundation intermediate, which is again back. Now, at that point of time, I cleared my P1 with an excellent score. Similar thing happened in P2, which was intermediate. I cleared with an excellent score. So, to be very precise, I was in air. And that air, that overconfidence was so much in me that I have deviated from my basic. I forgot that why I cleared P1, why I cleared P2 easily. I forgot that one of the strongest reason was regular exams. Even in 12th, even in 10th. I mean, all the students are aware that one of the strongest reasons that you pass with an excellent score is your regular exams. Now, that I forgot in my CA final in first attempt. And, that is where precisely I failed in November 2009. Let me, I'm accepting this very clearly. But immediately after that, I very well remember that I got my result on January 17, 2010, to be exact date. And I appeared in May 2010 again, starting from 2nd May 2010. I very well remember that in between this period, around 90 to 100 days were there, and I have at least written 3 papers of each subject, and I'm talking about full papers, each subject. Agreed, 8 paper was not there because I was having an exemption, so I've written 7 papers, but at least 3 papers of each of them. So I would say I've at least in 90 days period before I appeared again. And in some, I have actually written more than 3 also because I was not comfortable with those subjects. So I thought, let me write more paper, probably I'll be more comfortable. So writing, if you ask me, has no alternative. And, the saying goes from years and years that, one time writing is equal to probably 5 times reading or even more than that. I don't know what is the correct thing, but the point is it actually stands correct and it generates results. So if students are not doing paper writing, in Navkar Institute, we have a clear pattern that we at least ask them to write multiple papers, like our first batch of May 20, which got started immediately after May 17 results, is writing paper since last 1 year. I mean, many students are starting preparation after that. They start preparing in 2019 to appear in 2020. But we completed syllabus of our student in 2019, and since last 1 year, they are only writing papers. And same
That's
model we
really
have
great.
implemented for NDI also. In NDI also, we are ensuring that we take more and more papers so that students get that comfort. It's better you practice at home rather than you directly practice at your exam center. Otherwise, you would have to practice more times over there.
That's very correct. So, this was an amazing session with you. Let me share some highlights from the session, students. Like, this subject is really important. It can make you score good marks in your entire CA journey. And sir has also shared how you should prepare the subject. Days are not important. How effectively you are studying for the subject, that is having more importance for this subject. And further, sir had also added and shared to us that how important circulars and amendments are. Like, they are asked for 30 marks in the exams. The paper pattern is something like that: 30 marks of MCQs, 30 to 35 marks of practicals, 10 marks of customs. And he also shared to us how to prepare all these things. And in your 3 hours of exams, don't waste your time, know your strength, and use it very well to score exemption and more marks than that. Never appear the exams just to score 40 marks. Thank you,
Ma'am,
sir.
ma'am, just a minute, ma'am. I would like to add one more point, not as a subject expert, but as a true, maybe as a director of NDI or as a true mentor of a lot of students. When you are preparing for the student who is not actually having a clarity with regard to what he wants to do, I'm not criticizing it, but many of the students are joining CA just because of either someone's influence or maybe someone has actually told him to do that. So now that is something which is a different game. But I am talking about CA final students who have reached to this level after a lot of efforts and a lot of hard work. Now you have to keep in mind that you are not preparing for a day, you are preparing for your next 50 years. You are not only preparing for your comfort, you are preparing for your previous generation's comfort, because your parents are probably at the verge of retirement or is likely to get retired in the next 5 to 10 years. So you are thinking from their comfort, who have given so much comfort in your life in this many years. So even more important, you are preparing. If you do good, then your next generation is going to get fruits of that. So give your best shot. This CA final is not going to again come in your life. Give your best possible shot, and I am telling you, my experience I am saying, with experience I'm saying, we have seen a lot of students making fortune in life, making good in life, because they have worked hard in this period. And this period is actually going to make your life. It's a make or break situation. Don't compare in terms of hours. Don't compare in terms of, okay, I've done this much and that is my day is over. Give your best possible shot, and I'm telling you, future is yours. That's it, I think, from my side, ma'am. Yes, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Students, take this lifetime opportunity seriously and give your best shot. Wish you all good wishes for your examination, for your preparation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, thank you.
If you like this video, share it with your friends. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch more such videos and learn from our expert faculty members. Press the bell icon to get regular notifications whenever we upload a new video. Download NDI mobile app to get complete CA course online. We value your support. Thank you for watching.